Blah! Okay, I think we're live. I think this is working. Good morning, good morning. Welcome back to another episode of the Brew Along with Tespresso. Today we have Garrett Hill of Apothecary Coffee Co. He's the guy behind our featured coffee this month, which is the Benza Sagara. Washed Ethiopian. If you haven't seen this before, we've been getting a lot of feedback on how unique it is. And rather than me talk about it, I'm going to let Garrett talk about it here in a second. Garrett, because I will not do you justice in introducing yourself, why don't you do that?
All right. Hey guys, I'm Garrett Hill with Apothecary Coffee Company. I've been in the coffee industry since 2016. Opened my first shop, really out of the necessity for community in this little small town we moved to. And out of that, just like fell in love with coffee, started researching, started just reading forums and signing up for expensive online training. And then went to American Barista and Coffee School in Portland and came back and like ran a really successful shop for 2 years. Within those 2 years, I started roasting coffee as well. So I've been roasting since 2017, just on this little small garage roaster, essentially. In 2018, we sold our cafe, moved to Georgetown, Texas, which is where we are now, just north of Austin. Brought the roasting company down with us and grew to a much bigger roaster. So now we're on a San Franciscan SF10 and a Diedrich IR12. So just crushing it, man. Falling in love with the Central Texas coffee scene, and excited to get to tell you guys about our coffee.
So I want to talk more about this whole community aspect behind what's got you started on this, because I think you and I have had at least a portion of starting getting into the coffee industry. You and I have had very similar experiences. Like, I started a coffee shop, ran it for 3 years. It was more successful than it should have been, all things considered, and then we had to step out of it for other reasons. But that community thing is, that's what keeps me in the coffee industry. So you were in a small town in Oklahoma. There was no, you couldn't figure out how to meet people, or what? What spurred that on?
Yeah, really. My wife and I had just moved from Nashville, Tennessee to the middle of western Oklahoma. And if you want to talk about opposite ends of the spectrum when it comes to entertainment value and congregations of people and places to go, we were there. We were on the opposite end, and we were like, well, where do we meet people outside of church? We don't meet somebody at church. It's another 7 days before we get to meet someone at church again. So I'm like, surely we're not the only people in this town having this problem. And literally just woke up that week with having had a dream and a vision for this coffee shop. I knew what I wanted to call it, what I wanted it to be modeled after. We were in this little college town with a doctorate of pharmacy program. It was like one of the top 10 pharmacy programs in the nation. So I was like, let's play off that. Let's call it Prescription Brew.
Nice. I love that name, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah, we've got this old bungalow style house right across the street from the university. That's an amazing story too, but unfortunately we don't have 2 hours for me to go through that. But we called it Prescription Brew, modeled it kind of after an old pharmacy, and played along that, which is why when I opened the roastery, I called it Apothecary, kind of sticking along those old pharmacy lines, but also branding it separately because our intention always was to sell the cafe at some point. We didn't want to be in western Oklahoma forever, as marvelous as it was. So we branded it separately.
Wait. So you started a community. You gathered a bunch of people together, offered them a space to connect, and then you were like, bam, I'm out.
Essentially.
That's awesome. You should do that everywhere. You should go to every small town.
What's that?
I was just saying you should do that everywhere. You should go to every little small town that has a lack of community, set it up so that they can that they can congregate and meet, and then dip and go to the next one.
It crossed our mind a couple times, but after opening a coffee shop in Georgetown, I'm like, I'm kind of done with small towns.
Well, I mean, you
It
guys
was
killed
worth
it.
it.
I don't know if I told you this, but the first time, and we haven't mentioned this in today's video, but the first time that I went into 309 Coffee, like I have this terrible asshole tendency to go into any coffee shop and like, analyze it both from the perspective of like a business owner,
Oh yeah.
from like a coffee consultant, and from several different perspectives. And 309 is like the first cafe that I've ever been into where I was like, I wouldn't change anything. This is exactly how I would do this for this location, for this setup. This is beautiful. So well done there, yo.
Thank you very much.
You want to tell us a
But yeah,
little bit about
I'm
that
very
situation?
familiar. Tell you about the 39 situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, so this is a crazy story too. We we were again living in Western Oklahoma. Just had a baby in January. Sold our business in January, and this is April. We're planning to get back to Texas. I'm from Texas. My wife is from Texas, and the grandparents are just dragging us here by our hair. So
Yeah.
we come down and do a scouting trip. We were gonna look at Austin, San Antonio, and then some kind of like suburbs around those two towns. And on our way down, of course, Georgetown is the first town you hit coming in from the north. And we were like, let's just pull into Georgetown, see what it's like. And so we pulled into Georgetown and couldn't find a parking spot to save our lives. And we're like, what is this little town like so busy for? So we ended up finding a parking spot and walked to the square, and they had this big ginormous festival going on. It was called Red Poppy Festival.
Mm-hmm.
um, and it was just amazing. It was totally again a contrast from where we came from, of like no community, um, like no live music, culture, good food, like none of that, and all of this was happening in one spot in Georgetown. And we were like, we found it. We're home. Actually, before we even got out of the car, my wife was like, "Okay, this is it. We're moving. We're moving to Georgetown."
That's awesome.
I was like, well, maybe we should park first. So anyway, at Red Poppy Fest, I found out I was kind of doing some scouting. I was like, okay, if we wanted to open a coffee shop here, where would we do it? What would it be like? And we kind of started doing a little bit of market research, just talking to people at the festival, like, hey, how do you think Georgetown would respond to a new coffee shop? Is there demand for it here? And everyone was like, yes, yes, absolutely. We need good coffee here. I'm tired of Starbucks. And we want a good local option to go hang out. Um, and then one person told us like, oh yeah, I think there is a new little coffee shop coming in off Main Street, but I don't know anything else about them. So me that night, get home and just started like diving onto the web, like new coffee shop, Georgetown, Texas, Main Street, and like on page 2 of Google, I found the Facebook page for 309 Coffee.
Yeah.
And I reached out to them and said, hey guys, we're going to be coming back through Georgetown in a couple months. Actually, that was April, and it was June when we were coming back in. So I was like, I'd love to just stop by, drop off some samples, and just kind of see where the conversation leads. We want to move to Georgetown eventually, but I'd love to go ahead and start that relationship. So come June, we met with one of the owners at the house. It was again just an old house at this point, and he starts walking us through, telling us, "Oh, we want to do beer and wine. We want to do trivia night. We want to be a place for community to come in and feel loved." And I was like, "Man, this place already exists. Like we just sold this place 6 months ago in Oklahoma. It is exactly what you're talking about, and we've done it. We got the experience." So that conversation went so well. We had to drive to Houston that night for a wedding. Drove to Houston and then drove back the next day and had lunch with all of the partners in 309.
Oh, that's awesome.
And by the end of the conversation, we were just saying like, "Oh yeah, when we do this, when we do that, and when we do this," and like we were already a part of it. So We were like, okay, well, cool. We're in. Let's do this thing. The only problem is we're in the middle of a renovation in our house in Oklahoma, and then we have to finish that renovation and put it on the market. Hopefully, it sells.
Yeah.
Um, so on, so we're like, it'll be 3 or 4 months. Again, this is in June. It'll be 3 or 4 months before we can get here. Probably like December or January, really, if we're being honest. Um, so we're on our way back to Oklahoma, and I call a buddy of mine, say, "Hey man, can you come give me a quote on helping me finish this renovation? I think we're gonna finish it out, throw our house on the rental market, and just get to Texas as soon as we can." So he's like, "Yeah, sure." So Monday, the day after we met with the partners, he comes over to my house in Oklahoma, is walking through, and he's like, "Man, it's a shame you guys want to throw this on the rental market. My wife and I would love to buy a place like this." And I was like, "Dude, make me an offer." And so on Wednesday, they had a full offer, and we signed a contract on it on Wednesday and moved to Georgetown 30 days later. Um, so
Wow.
again, it was
It's
just
just like stars aligned,
great.
bam, bam, bam.
I
Timelines
still get
match up.
goosebumps. Yeah,
That's
telling that
beautiful.
story.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, so you came back, you did the 309
Yeah,
thing. 309 is still running successfully, and you're roasting for them, occasionally
I'm
helping them
still a
out and
roasting
set things
partner.
up.
Yeah,
Yeah, cool.
yeah. So
So
I came in, helped. Oh, sorry.
no, go ahead, go ahead. I want to hear
Came
all the
in.
story.
Okay, okay, good. Um, so we ended up moving to Georgetown, getting in 2 weeks after they got their construction permits. So we got to be a part of that whole construction project, which fortunately was very familiar to us. We, since we had done it with our old shop, gutted it down to studs, made it ADA compliant, updated electrical, plumbing, all these things, designed the bar layout. I can't tell you how many times I redesigned this bar layout, probably close to 70 or 80, because every time you change a piece of equipment, that changes your dimensions and
Yeah.
your availability on the bar. So,
Well, like I
and then
said, that
workflow,
was
like,
one of
oh, we moved
the
the register from this side to that side.
that workflow. That was one of the things that was most impressive to me. Like you guys
Yeah.
have multiple points of entry. You've got the what is it? The back to go window, the
Yep.
like front service window. You've got the like pastry display case, if I'm remembering correctly,
Yep.
and then you've got like barista workflow on both sides. It's just beautiful. It's gorgeous.
Right.
It's well designed, easy to work in.
Thank you. That
Love it.
that was very, very thought out.
Yeah, I could tell. I could tell.
um,
And it's in
and
a
like
weird,
even
awkward
working
space.
on some of
It's
the
like,
busiest, yeah, even working some of the busiest shifts I've ever worked in a cafe. There, it's 96% perfect. Like, even in the middle of a huge rush, there are very few things I'm like, oh man, I wish we had done this. I wish we'd done
yeah,
that different. It's like, nope, this works very well. Like, there are upgrades and stuff that I would do to it, but it's like on the budget we had, we did as well as we could. Um, so very proud of that one.
and yeah, no, you should be. And it wasn't a. I mean, it can't have been that small of a budget. What's the machine that you guys have over there? Do you guys have a? It's not a Black
So we got
Eagle.
no, it's a La Marzocco Strata 3E. So it's a three
Gotcha.
group electronic paddle. And we
Yep.
actually snagged that from a coffee roaster in Fort Worth, from an account that they had that went under. And I think we got it for 12.5, which is like a
Oh my
crazy deal on
gosh. That's a great deal on that.
when they go for, I guess, what did they go, 18-ish new. Um,
Yeah, I think
so
that's right.
yeah, we still shopped on a budget, but um, yeah,
Okay, cool. Let's get into before like you and I could talk for hours about this stuff and geek out
exactly
about like
right.
shop layout and efficiency workflows. Like, but let's talk about the coffee. Let's talk about this particular coffee. Um, and we can either do that like while you're brewing it, or we can do it beforehand. Whatever you want to do.
Let's do it while we're brewing because I feel like there's always kind of this odd time. Like you'll see in my pour over technique, it's kind of like pour, you bloom it, you pour to 200 mils, you kind of let it sit for 30 seconds, you pour again to 280, let it sit, and then you pour again. And so you gotta have all this dead time where you just have to kill. So let's talk about the coffee as we brew.
Sounds like a plan. All right, so we're doing
All
a
right.
pour over. We're doing a V60. Is that what we're doing?
Yes, yes. So real quick, I'll show you my coffee setup.
Yes.
I had all this sitting on like a wire shelf and was like, hey, this is not gonna fly. We have a 1 year old running around the house and he's starting to pull up on things. So hopped on Facebook Marketplace and found this thing for $4. Um, and it's awesome. It can hold all my stuff, keeps it organized, and got some holes cut in the back for power for grinder and water brewer. So I'm gonna try to align this camera where we can see what's going on the coffee. So
is that a Hario scale?
it is a Hario scale.
Dude, you have no idea how many of those I've broken. It is.
Oh, I do, and that's why in the cafe I buy the what is it, acacia
The
pearl?
Kaya scales? Yeah.
Yeah, acacia. Because they're waterproof, and these guys are not.
Yep.
So I've flown through many of these as well. All right, we got a good angle on that. Drop it a
Yeah,
little more.
that looks good.
There we go. Cool. So I'm going to be using a V60, brewing into a glass decanter so everybody can see it. One thing I found out about V60 filters early on in the cafe game is they're like perforated on one side. So I always train my baristas, hold it facing you, and then fold with the perforated side on the left, and then fold it in, and at that point it makes like a perfect cone, so you don't have that awkward lay in there. When you put it into the V60, it sits flat on all edges. So that was a helpful little tidbit that I got. I know, being new to home brewing, people don't always tell you the little tips and tricks, so it's nice to hear those, even if it's redundant for most of us.
No, it's true. And
inside,
I actually had somebody reach out to me recently, and they were like, "Why are my filters ripping all the time?" And I was like, "Are you folding along the crease?" And they're like, "No, you're supposed to do that." And so it turns out that like that crease not only like it helps the integrity of the cone itself, which is something I didn't know until I researched it, and that guy was having problems with it.
Well, cool. I am waiting on my water to heat up right now. I've already ground my coffee because my grinder is 6 years old and it just rattles so loud. It sounds like a diesel truck driving through our kitchen.
I'm actually gonna mute
So
while
I've
I
already
grind, so you talk.
Okay, cool. So I am using a Baratza Encore. I'll move the computer real quick so everybody can see what we've got in here. Like I said, this thing is 6 years old. They're $120-ish, $130 now maybe, but it'll last you at least 6 years. It's great quality. So yes, that seems expensive, but if you're making more coffee at home, if you're buying Apothecary coffee at home, it'll save you money compared to going and paying $2, $3 a day at your local cafe. So definitely invest in a good home grinder. And I forgot I was going to talk about grind size. So grind size is going to be a little bit different on every grinder, but on mine, not sure if you can see it, but I've got it sitting right at 18 for a pour over, which is medium, pretty medium grind size. If you want to take over for a sec, just got a low back notification, so let me go plug in my computer.
Sure, sounds like a plan. And I'll take this opportunity to pitch the grinder that we sell as well, which I gave you one of those. So we have this guy right here, which I'm a huge fan of the Encore. The Encore is a great entry level grinder. The issues that I have with the Encore are like very minor quality of life issues. So like their motor tends to burn out really quickly if you're like doing a lot of grinding at a time, and the like the burrs themselves tend to heat up a little bit faster because of that lack of motor power. Whereas this little guy it's got. Actually, you and I were talking about the burrs on this. You were happy with the motor and the setup of this, but you wanted to switch out the burrs and test and see if that could improve the quality of this grinder, which I think I'm going to order a handful of sets of the K30 burrs like you recommended and play around with that and test that out, because I think that upgrading this grinder would be a great idea.
Sweet. What were we talking about? Oh, yeah, grind sizes. So regardless of the grinder you use, you really want to shoot for like a medium grind size. A little bit more coarse than table salt is where I would fall. My dose is going to be 20 grams of coffee in, and 320 milliliters of water. Which is what's great about these Hario scales. They're cheap for home use. They've got, they weigh down to 0.1 grams, and they have a timer built into them.
And they're fast
so
scales,
as my water,
which is always important.
They are fast, right? You don't have that lag. My water is almost done heating up, and we'll get started brewing.
All right, sweet. Yeah, the speed of the scales that we sell is like the one thing. Like they're fast enough. They take care of things. But they're water resistant. They're super cheap. So even if they break, you just grab another one. The Hario scales we had in the cafe, and I think we ran through like 10 of them before I said, you know what, we're done with this. Let's switch over to the Akaya scales. So we had like 2 or 3 Akaya scales. Never had an issue with those, but they're really expensive for what they are, you know?
They are.
And I haven't played with their app in like 3 years. Have you played with their Bluetooth connection app stuff?
I have a little bit. Like when we first got these new ones, I played around with the app a little bit, and it was cool. Like you could switch it from grams to ounces, and but as far as like the brew tracking, like the flow rate tracking and stuff, I never. So all those
it never seemed to work for me.
Necessary.
Speaking of apps, though, I did this morning find an app that was like apparently Mr. James Hoffman made a coffee dice thing, like a product of dice that you'd roll and it would tell you like a brew recipe. And so there's an app that he, in conjunction with somebody else, made called Coffee Dice that looks interesting. You just get a random brew recipe every single day. I could get behind that. I don't know yet. I might play around with that and see what's up.
No, that's great. It's a good way, especially like if you're not at a cafe learning from other people. It's a good way to like break outside of your comfort zone on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't even think about that. Okay, so we're doing.
All right, cool.
How many grams in?
I'm at 20 grams in, and we'll be doing 320 milliliters of water, which milliliter is roughly a gram if you're on a scale. And as a home brewer, if you find your coffee is tasting watery or weak, you might just tighten that grind size up a little bit more. If you find that your coffee is taking way too long and it's super muddy when you get done, you might coarsen that grind size a little bit until you kind of reach a brew time of, on a V60, I like to shoot for 2 minutes and 45 seconds to 3 minutes, somewhere in that 15-second range. So I've got water. We're at 203 degrees right now. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. First thing you're going to do is hit your timer and start your bloom pour. So for my bloom, just do nice, quick little circles in the top here and go to 60 milliliters. And I pick it up and just kind of do one quick little spin with the brewer. And that helps that bed of coffee so you don't have any dry spots. What the bloom does is during the brewing process, you have water moving in and out of these coffee cells, extracting solubles. But during that time, you also have carbon dioxide trying to escape. So the bloom just helps that carbon dioxide escape, so you don't have water trying to go in and carbon dioxide trying to come out. You just get a lot more even extraction if you let a little bit. So I'm going on my first pour at 45 seconds. I'm going to pour to 200 milliliters in small circles, starting in the inside and moving my way out. And if your flow rate is correct, you should hit a minute and 25 seconds as you start to see coffee grinds come back to the surface. And you don't want coffee above the surface of the water. So that's when I start my second pour. I'll pour to 280 milliliters. And in that pour at about a minute and 40 seconds. And then around that 2 minutes and 10 seconds, I'll do my final 40 milliliter pour to 320 milliliters. And then let it drain out until it stops. Okay, time for a second pour. Again, start with small, quick circles in the inside and move outward so that you're reaching 320 milliliters as you reach the outside of the cone. Mine actually looks like it might finish up a little bit slow. At that 3-minute mark, I typically don't let it go too far past 3 minutes. So if it does, we call it choking. This one hasn't choked. I just went a little bit too fine on the grind side. But if you do find your coffee choking, which means like you don't have a steady stream of coffee coming out of your filter, it's just kind of like dripping and you still have a whole bunch of liquid up here. What you can do is once you reach that time limit, you can pull your brewer here and tear your scale and then just do a 5 or 10 or 20, however short you are. Do a quick little bypass pour so you're still getting that ratio. Say I didn't drain those last 10 milliliters in 3 minutes. Just do a 10 milliliter bypass pour, and it still works great. One of the best cup competitions one of the best cups I ever had was a bypass. They brewed it as a concentrate and did a 50 milliliter bypass, and it was crazy. I was like, well, I'm gonna have to start adding that to my brewing technique.
Wait, you're gonna have to teach me what a bypass pour is then.
Yeah. So if you, yeah, for sure. If you have ever had coffee out of a commercial coffee brewer, at least you've tasted coffee with a bypass pour. All it is essentially you're brewing a concentrated beverage and pouring water into it so you get the correct ratios. But what happens in those ginormous batch brewers is you're brewing a gallon of coffee, and to get the correct extraction on that, that would be a 8 or 9 minute brew time. And you just don't have that long to wait in a cafe. So what they do is it brews for 5.5 minutes, but then you can control the amount of bypass on those things. So you can do a 10% bypass, 15% bypass. And essentially it's kind of like making a concentrated AeroPress or something at like a 1 to
So when you
10
say
ratio.
bypass, it just means like you're adding water in at the end to increase that ratio.
Yeah. Sorry,
okay,
I didn't clarify that.
No, it's all good. I
Yeah,
love
you just
learning
pour
these
water
new
straight into the
new terms
the
for
brew.
things.
You dilute it.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, awesome. I do not have a clean cup, so we'll be using a cupping cup.
Cool. My buddy made this cup for me. I think in my interview, I always say it's important to have a cup that's sentimental to you. Um, I've got a shelf full of cups that are just like, one was from when I went to Wimbledon in 2012. One is from the first cafe I started. One is my buddy made it with ceramics. So
Yeah,
love just having like a variety of cups that
I
mean
totally
something.
feel you. The cups that are sentimental to me, like I never use. Just like these are, I'm gonna put these away. I think we have one on display right there. I don't know if you can see it. Maybe you can, but I don't think anybody else can.
Yeah, I get in trouble for having too many coffee mugs. So the only ones that I really get to keep are the ones that are sentimental.
Yeah.
Um, and if I break them, it's like, well, all right, I had too many anyway.
Well, cheers, yo. Thanks for showing us how to brew this coffee.
Cheers. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Seriously, I love how just light and effervescent is a great word for this.
Yeah. Oh man, I just realized we didn't talk much about the coffee at all, but we can do that while we drink it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this coffee, like you've mentioned a couple times, is not like normal Ethiopians. And I've even had watched Ethiopians before that were pretty delicate, were good, but they weren't like this. And when I tried this coffee, there was just so many layers. Just even as a sample roast, it was like, oh man, wow. There's like delicate florals. There's some bright stone fruit, like peach. There's like a white grape that really stands out. I don't even know that I've had a white grape, but I was like, it's not a green grape. It's definitely not a red grape, but it's just like, it's a more delicate version of a green grape is that other than white grape. Or it's kind of like a champagne or white grape juice, rather. So that's my mindset on those tasting notes is it's got a lot of very delicate. Oh yeah. So you should have received a card with your subscription, and it's got those tasting notes listed, and yeah.
So,
And those tasting notes are not exclusive. Like if you are tasting something else, like I said, I've let this coffee sit for an hour before and kind of forgot that I brewed it, and then you come back and try it again, and it's like, whoa, I've never tasted anything like that in this coffee before. So brew methods also, if you're trying it on espresso, like you're gonna pull out totally different things than what we have here.
This is one of the reasons that I love this coffee so much is that it legitimately changes based on the temperature. Like as it cools down, it further develops. It's really good. The espresso I have been pulling pretty similar to what's going on in these flavor notes. It's really good.
Awesome. I'm jealous. I actually don't know that I've had it on espresso.
Well, I tell you what, next time I come by, which may be next week, I'll bring the decent with me, and we can play with it.
Nice.
All right, Joe. Is there anything that I should have asked you, but that I didn't?
Oh, I think we've covered a lot. If we still have anyone on at this point, I know I've just gone on and on about myself and about coffee, and that bores a lot of people. But man, if
I
they're
love
still
it.
hanging
Some
in
people
there
love
at this
it.
point,
We have. I don't think we currently have any viewers, but we've got at least 10 different reactions, and I don't even know if I have this set up so that comments are coming through to my third-party thing. So I may have missed a bunch of comments. We'll find out.
cool.
But it looks like several people have popped
there
in
are.
and said hello.
Oh, I see the comments now. That's cool.
Wait, you see the comments? Or you see the...
I can see the comments. Good morning, happy coffee, heart eyes, love it.
Show, hide comments and reactions. Oh, sweet. Okay. Gotcha. Okay, cool. So no questions then. We're all set. But yeah, was there anything else that you wanted to end on?
Man, not that I can really think of. Like, I know if you are in the coffee industry, you have, this has been a really tough year for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And like you and I both agree, coffee is all about the community, and we can still be a community even if we're far apart. And we can still lift each other up and support each other, even at 6 feet. We can still show up to each other's cafes and support one another. No, we're not doing throwdowns anymore.
Yep.
Like, we don't need to forget about that community that we have, and that's what holds us all together. So I know it can be really frustrating right now in the coffee world, because we stay in coffee for the community, not for the money. We can make much more money somewhere else. But
it's too true.
And so it can be especially frustrating for us in the coffee industry, but hang in there. It's, we're all in it together. You're not alone. And just really take this time and like focus on developing your skills. Use it as a chance to rest. I know in the coffee industry, I'm always go. Like, I have this event, I have this networking thing, I have this. And this has honestly been just a good chance for me to like relax and rest and really focus on like my long-term goals and what does that look like. So it's not all bad,
Nice, yo. Yeah. No, I've been getting the same level of sentimental recently, and I feel like like half of my subscribers on my email list are just like, what are you doing? Who are you? And the other half, they get it. It clicks. They're like, yeah, no, this is weird. Things are rough. Okay. Well, I do have to do one last like giveaway drawing. So every Wednesday, do you want to stick around for this or no?
Yeah, sure.
Cool.
Congratulate the winner.
Congratulate the winner. I'll have you read off the name then. Let's see if I can set it up.
Oh yeah, I may have to make mine.
Okay, we might be able to make this work. A little bit of a messy scene here. Right. Okay, so the winner of this week's giveaway. So every Wednesday we put up a little post on Instagram giving away something throughout the end of 2020. So we're giving away something throughout every Wednesday, every week for 2020, progressively getting better, and it's a cumulative competition. So anybody who has participated in the past several weeks, their name is in this bowl right now. All right, let's see. You can see the bowl. Perfect. This week's winner is going to be getting a full pour-over set. So that includes the carafe. It includes a V60 brewer. It includes a pack of filters. It includes a gooseneck kettle. This is kind of weird showing this off in two different angles. Oh, shit. Gooseneck kettle. What am I missing? Oh, and then a scale, of course. We'll have one of these little waterproof scale things going on. Water resistant, I should say. These are not waterproof. All right, let's see who the lucky winner is. If I can get this open. I'm very bad at doing these names. Can you read that?
I can't. The lighting is there we go. Chris
says Chris,
or
but
Chip.
Nothing else. I think it says Chris, but we're actually going to draw another one because if it's the Chris that I'm thinking of, she's already won twice in a row, and she has told me not to.
Oh, come on, Chris. Put her name in there 40 times. Come on, Chris.
I know she participated early on, and so she's got a bunch of names in here. Okay, this one is
Love. I can't read that. Love Perfect.
Dave Pastor.
Oh, Dave Pastor. There we go.
Dave Pastor. All right, Dave. Congratulations, Dave Pastor. And I think he participated in the very first week, so his name is stuck around, and he finally got his chance to shine. So Dave, I'll be reaching out to you on Instagram. We'll get your shipping address and I'll send all that stuff over to you. Congratulations. And I think in the comments I said that anybody who was live viewing at this time, I would do another drawing. Unfortunately, I'm just not popular enough, so we're missing out on that second drawing.
We'll get there.
No,
Hey, we'll take over for Chris and Garrett. And...
Yeah. All right, let's do one more.
All right, cool. Hey, can we throw in a bag of Apothecary?
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want to do a bag of Apothecary
winner?
for this one?
All right. Yep. Or
Cool.
Mason Lee?
Mason Bow.
Mason Bow.
Right. So I'll connect you with Mason on Instagram, and we'll let you set him up with a bag of Apothecary.
Sounds awesome. I've got a Colombia that is wildly different than this Ethiopia, but it's crazy. It's still a delicious coffee. So I'll throw that one Mason's way.
Nice. All right. Congratulations, Mason. Congratulations, David. That's enough of the giveaway stuff. I'm done with that. Garrett, thank you for taking the time to chat with us. Let us know about your process. And hey, stay
Thanks for having me on. Stay caffeinated.
All right. Talk to you later.
See ya.